tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. On the show today is Ayad Akhtar, an actor, and actress-producer Julia Verdin. Actor-writer Ayad Akhtar was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He graduated from Brown University with a degree in theater. He's also responsible for the film Forever and a Day and a novel entitled Broken Images. Ayad makes his acting debut in the film The War Within, which he co-wrote with director Joseph Costello. We have a clip of Ayad's character in Grand Central Station, and then we'll go on to the interview that I did with him, which was done on location.
You disappeared on me. Here, I got this for you.
Thank you.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
You know, it reminds me of a mosque back home.
Hassan, please don't take this the wrong way. What happened to the kid who loved Duran Duran? Do you remember how you guys used to wear those tapered jeans with your collars up?
We were children, no?
Come on, let me show you something. Stand here, facing the pillar.
Where are you going?
Wait. Hassan? Hassan? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
The sound travels up the pillars just like the caves in Kenya. Do you remember, Hassan?
Yes, I do.
Isn't it amazing? What?
Nothing. You just look exactly like I remember you. Exactly the same. I was afraid you weren't going to be here. I have to go, Duri. I'm sorry. I'm late for an appointment. Good.
Are you mic'd and everything? Oh, you're mic'd.
Yes, I am. Anytime you're ready.
And you say Ayad?
Ayad.
Ayad. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
When you got out of Columbia,
Yeah.
you were directing, you were going into directing. You studied directing as opposed to acting when you came out of Brown.
Right.
Which did you really want to do?
That's a great question. You know, it's funny. It's one of those things. I studied acting at Brown, as you mentioned, and then I started teaching acting. And I worked with Andre Gregory and Jerzy Grotowski. And, you know, I taught acting for about 10 years. So I taught all through while doing the Columbia program for film directing. I was continuing to teach acting.
Well, you were teaching with Andre, who had his own particular method of acting. Was your acting the same idea?
Well, you know,
or method?
I certainly have been very influenced by Andre, very influenced. But I also worked closely with Jerzy Grotowski, who was Andre's mentor.
Oh.
And he had a very different approach to acting. He had a very rigorous Eastern European approach, and Andre has a very rigorous but also very open and American and fluid film acting approach in a way. So I was influenced by both.
Well, when you were working with Jerzy, you were in Tuscany.
Yeah.
I mean, you went for a year. Why did you do that? Just to go with him?
He's
Or
a
you were there?
legend. He's one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest theoreticians about acting of the last 100 years. So just the opportunity to work with him was like, it's like getting to meet Stanislavski.
I see. So you spent a year there.
Yeah.
Was it in Florence?
Yes. No, it wasn't in Florence. It was between Florence and Pisa in a small town in the countryside.
And were there a group of people with you?
Yeah, there was a group working with him. It was an academy in the old sense of the word, in the sense of, students gathering by a tree, like...
Did you have to be chosen?
Yes, there was a selection process.
Was the selection?
Yeah.
Well, before you got there, did you act on stage at all?
I did quite a bit of stage acting.
Oh, so that's how you really broke into or thought about the acting thing coming out of Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about the acting process is that it's something I've always been fascinated with, it's something I love, and something that I seem to understand how to communicate to others. So...
Well, when you got to Columbia, you met Joseph Costello and Tom Glenn.
Yeah.
And you started working together. How did you actually get together?
Well, we would study at the Columbia Library every night, and so we'd just start studying together at the same table, and we just started talking and just started, throwing ideas around. And, after 9/11 and after what happened in New York, pretty much all we were talking about was politics.
So the War Within project came out of that, or did something before that happen?
No, it came out of the tremendous wound that was 9/11.
But actually meeting with those two people.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't have another project with them?
No. Well, we worked on a short film, and then we worked on this. So.
Having 3 people at the Columbia Graduate School, how did you divide what you were going to do once you started writing?
Well, we wrote together. So it was a process. We worked with a group therapy collaborative coach, somebody who works with Fortune 500 companies to help them work through ego and communication issues. So we did that through our writing process.
That was very interesting. How did she affect? Did she sit in with you?
She did at times, but usually we would go in twice a week and just talk through what had happened, how we were communicating, what were our obstacles, what were each of us looking for, what were our values, where those things were overlapping and were positive, where those things were coming into conflict. And it would just gave us a frame, really, and a technique to be able to work through these issues.
Did she do ask those questions individually?
Absolutely, and together as well.
And then like in a group therapy session?
Exactly.
Was she reading what you were writing for The War Within?
She ended up being a part of that process somewhat. She unfortunately had to move to France toward the end of the project, so she wasn't involved all the way through, but...
Did it help in your writing?
Oh, my
Did
God.
she bring something to you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She freed us up because, it's very easy to get locked into an ego position about, I think that it should be like this, or I think it should be like that. And so when you share an idea with your partner, you expect a yes or a no. But in fact, the best thing is for you to share with your idea with a partner, for them not to say yes or no, but to simply take that as a gesture, and they continue the gesture. And then you continue the gesture, and then they continue the gesture.
It's like a facilitator, really.
Exactly.
And when you started writing, were you writing the part for yourself because you were an actor?
Well, we wrote the role knowing that I would play it, but if we had written it for me, it would have been a huge limitation. We had to really write the role that we believed was appropriate, and then I would have to go and figure out how to play it.
I see. One of the things, and this was your acting debut.
On
film,
right.
because that's why I wondered how much stage you had done.
Right.
All of the characters that you brought into the film
Yeah.
were so real
Yeah.
and so normal in a way, and you see how you wonder where the radical element enters. How does that happen in your characters?
Well, in our character's history, it happens through the brutal treatment at the hands of the state. And I mean the state in a larger sense. So it was really his 3-year imprisonment that caused this turn.
The main character.
Yeah.
But does that happen? Have you seen that happen in real life? Were you basing it on something that you had read?
Yeah, Al-Qaeda was actually the second in command of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri. Most experts of Al-Qaeda believe that Zawahiri, who was a very, very strong activist, political activist, before his imprisonment and torture at the hands of Egyptian authorities. After his torture, turned to violence.
I see. And that's what happens with your character,
Yeah.
who doesn't seem violent at all.
Right.
I mean, even when you're playing him, he
Yeah.
doesn't have that violent edge. So I think for your audiences to see that, it becomes more real, becomes more of looking around.
Wow.
Were you thinking
great.
about those?
Well, I think what I was thinking about was not playing a type. I was trying to find a way to play a human being.
And the rest of your cast, how did you find the rest of your cast and how did you cast them?
Well, we had a great casting director, Cindy Tolan, and she just did an outreach. You know, we went into the community and we tried to find as many of the actors and people who could act as possible, and we just saw them all.
And as you were doing your research, did you all separately do your research, or did you do it together and bring something to the table?
All of the above. We did it together, and we did it separately, and we brought it to the table. It was, you know, it was a full immersion.
Was it easy to research all of that? Did you talk to people about what they were doing?
Well, we didn't talk to actual terrorists, but
Well, I wondered because
yeah, sure.
Terrorists like the person next door.
Sure. We didn't talk to actual militants, but we did talk to all kinds of experts, all kinds of people. We read everything we could get our hands on. So
that must have accounted for the authenticity of making the bomb. When you were making the
right.
bomb, how did you actually use real material?
Well, we were very careful that sequence gives no information about how actually to do it.
That's interesting.
Because that was very important to us, that people don't understand how they could do this simply by watching this movie.
But it felt like it.
Well, that's the illusion that we're trying to give.
When you were assembling the bomb, and then when you came out with your bomb vest.
Yeah.
Had you actually seen a bomb vest?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It was very eerie, and it was very scary. And one of the things that I noticed about the filmmaking was the way the colors change. They were kind of pink, they were washed out,
Right.
they were grainy.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Lisa and Joe worked really hard on the shot plan and on the color plan, and there was a lot of careful attention that went into the choices of color that were going to somehow give us an image, a picture into the inner life of this character. So
it was very planned.
Oh, yeah.
And did say the grainy part relate to?
Well, those were flashbacks.
So the grainy part.
Yeah.
And then when the color washed out?
Well, when there were brighter
Brighter.
colors, then we're in a sort of more lively. Hassan has a little bit more of an engagement with life, and so much of the film is a kind of the colors faded out of it because we see somebody who's scarred. His soul and his body is entirely scarred by what he's been through.
That's right, his body as well. You forget that. Why didn't you use ethnic music?
Well, we did. We did on one cut, and then we decided that this film was an American film, and that we wanted the American audience to identify with this film, and we didn't want them necessarily to feel that they were watching something ethnically different, because this is a film about Muslim American life.
That was very interesting because that was the thing that I asked myself afterwards.
Right.
I didn't realize
Exactly.
during the time.
Exactly. So we made our point. That's great.
Was it shot on location?
Yes, it was.
And how long did it take you to make it?
It took about 8 months.
And it was a prize winner at many film festivals because you were in film festivals.
Well, we went to the Toronto Film Festival. It was wonderfully received.
It was received because that's an audience that's savvy to
Yes.
film. What about a regular audience?
Well, the amazing thing is that it's connecting with audiences. And audiences will sit in the theater quietly and will often erupt into applause after about 2 minutes.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it's affecting people.
The other thing that I thought it did was create a dialogue. Did you expect that afterwards?
That's our intention. That's our intention.
What's next?
Oh, all kinds of projects. Something lighter.
Where you can laugh.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for watching that part of our show. We'll be right back with producer, actress Julia Verdin. Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We have actress, producer Julia Verdin, who was born and raised in England. Julia, what schools did you attend, and did you want to be an actress when you were going to school?
Yes, I must confess I did.
Oh, you did? What
Yes.
schools did you go to?
I went to school in Oxford. It was a great place to go to school, very academic city, all the universities, colleges. And I was very lucky that while I was in school there, I managed to get into a couple of university productions.
Oh, is that how it started? But
Yes.
was it acting school actually?
No, I was doing my A-levels in Oxford at the Oxford High School.
Oh, so as you were a high school student, you got
Yep.
into... Oh,
I
how
played
great.
Mabel Chilton in An Ideal Husband, actually, funnily enough, with Hugh Grant.
Did you really?
And I also played Cecily in The Importance of Being Earnest in another college production.
So that was really a good break. Would that have been a turning point for you as far as acting went?
Not at that time, because at the time Hugh was just another student. It was after he graduated from Oxford that he got his big break and became a big movie star.
But you didn't get your big break and go along with him.
Sadly not, no. I had to work in the trenches and go a different route.
What happened with you? Did you continue acting when you were in London?
Yes, I was very lucky. I actually managed to work a lot as an actress. I did a lot of TV series. I played Julia Verdin in Howard's Way. I was in Never the Twain, Shelley. French Peels with Anton Rogers and Julia Mackenzie. And it was fun. I loved it. I had a great time.
So why would you leave England and come to Los Angeles?
Well, it's awfully cold in England and awfully warm and sunny over here.
Did you think you would continue your acting career coming to Los Angeles?
Actually, when I came over here, I'd really decided to focus on producing. And I felt in England I had a very high press profile as an actress. I was always in the press a lot. As a bright young thing, out and about on the town. I was what they used to call in England an it girl.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, which is all very good fun and great there. But I felt when I wanted to move in production, coming over here, people would take me more seriously as a producer because they weren't. It was like a sort of new start, a different place.
Oh, so you actually came with that in mind, producing not so much as going into the acting part of it.
Yes. No. When I moved over here, I came over here deciding that I wanted to produce films.
Did you do any of that in London? Did you produce anything there?
I did start in England. I got into producing really by accident. I started reading scripts and doing story reports and synopsises for a couple of producers that I knew.
Over there?
And yes, thinking at the time that way I might be able to identify more roles for myself as an actress.
Yeah, I would think.
But I found that I really enjoyed that, and so I got offered an opportunity with a production company in England, and I very much enjoyed that, and one of the projects that I found for them was a kids' comedy called Spy Trap. So I was an executive producer on that, went off to Washington.
Oh, you
did? We shot the film there.
So you came with a lot of, well, not a lot of experience, but you came with experience, so you knew what production was about.
Yes.
And how different was it from acting?
Very different. As an actress, one just has to remember a few lines and show up on set. As producer, you're responsible for everything. The financing, getting the script and the story right, or the research, making sure that you've cleared all the rights. You're responsible for the actors all behaving on set.
But being an actress really doesn't help you that much in producing.
Not really, no. The only area where it does help, actually, funnily enough, is usually in independent films, you have to get a star name attached to your project to greenlight the film. And I think my acting background's really helped in that. Because when I sit down with an actor to pitch them on my project and getting involved in my project, I know how to talk to them. And I understand what fears they may be going for or what reservations they might have of a project and how to talk around it.
I was going to say, did it open doors because you were an actress, or just once you got the door open, it helped?
Well, I think both really. I mean, I think from my acting days, I was very lucky that I met a lot of good actors who were on their way up at the time. We all worked together as actors in the trenches. And
that's what it's important too, isn't it? Because you can identify with who's going where and what they're doing.
Exactly. And then I also get very involved in the casting process of all the films. On a lot of the films that I produced, I've also put the cast together myself. And
that's
so
difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
That's difficult, casting, I think.
And I think having an acting background has been very helpful in that, to really be able to sort of spot talent and know when someone's sort of like really coming from here. and being sincere in the role, or when someone's just like sort of using acting sort of tricks and is not going to get that much better.
So the films that you've produced here are numerous.
Yes.
Run down a few of them and tell me how the casting happened.
Well, last year I actually had a very good year. I managed to get 3 theatrical releases, which I was very excited about.
A lot.
I was an executive producer on Merchant of Venice, and definitely getting Al Pacino involved helped to spearhead that project forward. Then I also produced Stander with Tom Jane and Deborah Unger.
Oh.
And
was that a South African film?
Yes, and that's a film that I'm very, very proud of. It was a real passion project for me, a wonderful script, wonderful story. I was lucky enough to get a wonderful director on board that project, Bronwyn Hughes, who's also a woman, and it was great to work with another woman, as I've always worked with male directors in the past, so it was a good experience to work with a woman.
Then how do you get them, the films out, once you've produced them?
Well, with Stander, we were very lucky. It was a film that everybody wanted to put out. We screened the film at Toronto Film Festival. Everybody loved it. We had 6 of the domestic companies all making bids.
Oh, so that was a big hit.
Yeah,
right? I mean, it made you feel great.
Yeah, it was very exciting to have a bidding war on my film.
Exactly. And then with Pacino, of course, that goes without saying.
Well, with Pacino, that was snapped up immediately. Al Pacino and Merchant of Venice, that was a film everybody wanted to see, and Sony Classics came on board that project very quickly.
Oh, I didn't know that you had worked on that. I loved that. It was very dark. It had a darkness to it. Once you pull your package together, do you go on the set and follow what's going on?
It depends on different things on different films. Stander, I was very much involved in the production to start to finish, because that was my passion project. It took 2 years to put together. I went down to South Africa early with the director to do research on the project. We met a lot of the cops and the other people who had been involved in Stander's life, and it was fascinating.
Tell us a little bit about him. It wasn't a documentary.
No, but it was based on a true story. But every person we met had a different Stander character. Every person we met had a different Stander story. So we realised that this guy must have been a total chameleon.
So what did he do?
He was a captain of the police in South Africa in the whole apartheid era, and then got very disillusioned through things he had to do in the line of duty, killing innocent people in the riots, and decided to make the absolute rebellion against authority and became the biggest bank robber in South Africa. And because he knew... So what
a great story you had. That was no wonder.
And because he knew the police procedure, he was constantly able to outwit them and was always one step ahead. And so it took them a very long time to catch them, and was a major embarrassment to the South African police force at the time.
Who would write something like that?
Bima Stagg, South African writer, wrote the original screenplay.
And you were there. Did you get to meet him?
Yes,
You did?
He came down. He was very involved in the whole process with us.
Wow!
And it was great. I mean, making that film was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I was down in South Africa for 6 months and really followed the whole process from start to finish.
So it's much more fun being a producer.
Yeah, no, I mean it was especially on a project like that, which is a fascinating story and a very powerful, dramatic story. It was just fascinating.
The projects you're working on now, I know you're working on a Marvin Gaye project.
Yes.
How does that start? Like, if I wanted to be a producer, what would I be following along behind you doing?
Well, with this particular project, it's called Sexual Healing, and it's based on the life story of Marvin Gaye. We were sent the project, very talented writer, director, Lauren Goodman, just a wonderful, wonderful script. It was one of those scripts that I read and just couldn't put down. I was like, oh my God,
so this
is a movie.
You have to have it.
Yeah,
you have to have it. Okay.
And I think timing-wise too, it's good timing to get that type of movie made, because when you have like sort of dark sort of biopics, it's often tricky to get financing. But we're very lucky that Ray and Walk the Line and some of the other musical biopics have been very successful. So we've had a lot of interest from investors in coming in on this project because of that, as well, of course, it's a very strong script.
And the music?
The music, the rights for the films, the rights for the songs that we need are fortunately available, but it's a fairly complicated process. And we're in the middle of trying to go through that right now.
That's what I would think, the way there is the songs and who owns them and what you can play. What about casting then? Do we go to casting next?
Yes.
First we get the money. First we get the piece.
Yes.
Then we get...
Then you have to cast right, and casting's so important, because if you cast a movie right, it makes the movie fantastic. If you miscast, it can totally ruin your whole movie. And for this project, we decided on Jesse Martin, who we're all very excited about and think is fantastic.
Can he sing?
He can sing.
Oh, he can.
And he was one of the leads in Rent, so hopefully we're going to be able to work out a deal with him, because he's somebody that we've been.
And he can take that persona on of Marvin Gaye persona.
Yes, no, and he loves the project and is very excited about it.
So then what happens next? Do we have the money? We have the money. We have the play. We have the
script. We have an actor who's interested in playing the lead role. Now we'll have to get the rest of the cast around him. There's a lot of good actors that we're all interested in. Don't want to give any names yet until
but you have then you look for people. There'll be a lot of people that the audience will know because it's a recent character.
Yes.
Or a living character who was living.
There's a delicate balance between finding people who look like those people, but also have the essence that you need acting-wise, and can come up to the job sort of acting-wise too.
And then we need PR.
Absolutely.
Lots of public relations, right?
Yes. No. You on a film like this, you've got to do good publicity just to make sure that you get the audience awareness out there, so people come and see your movie. Because if you make the best movie in the world and nobody knows it's there, no one's going to go and see it. So getting your PR right on films is very important, and that's why the studios spend a fortune on marketing campaigns.
Yeah, I guess.
As independents, unfortunately, we don't have that luxury, so we have to be a little bit more creative about how we get our films out there, and that's why the internet has been a fantastic tool.
Oh, it has.
So a lot of indie filmmakers, myself included, will start sort of putting up websites for their films,
and just letting people know,
and just letting people know that it's out there, or if a film like this is in pre-production, that it's going to be out there soon.
Well, we're going to keep looking for it. Julia,
thank you.
Our time is finished, and thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks. And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles today. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. See you next time.